Welcome to In My Own Words podcast.
I never took a straight path nowhere.
And I'm your host, Benjamin Borges.
I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm alright. Hell no.
Shit, that always gets me hyped. On this podcast, I'm talking about sports, life, history, and motivation. Even though with the politics sometimes. Definitely gonna have some guests. No topic is off motherfucking limits.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me.
Yeah, you right, Will. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Hey, what's going on, guys? So this is the first podcast in a while. Just gonna be me talking about a couple of ideas and things I wanted to discuss. I would talk about the whole Colin Kaepernick situation and the NFL players kneeling down and exercising the freedom of speech that people have a problem with for whatever reason. I just want to get into that real quick. So I served 6 years in the military, United States Army. I was stationed out in Hawaii, and I had friends go overseas and some friends not come back, and they knew what they were fighting for. They're fighting to uphold the Constitution and to exercise the freedom of speech and for us to have that liberty. It's not something I did for anybody else. It's a complete selfless service. It's just what you do. It's like a calling you feel. And I have no problem with what Colin Kaepernick is doing, taking a knee. He's not doing anything disruptive. He's not burning a flag. He's not saying America. He's not saying any of those things. And for people to project on how he should have protested, how he should have acted, that's not the way a protest works. Would these same people tell Rosa Parks that maybe she shouldn't have sat in the front that day? Would they tell Martin Luther King, don't give the speech at the steps of in the Washington Monument to millions of people? Would they have told the people who marched in Selma, nah, maybe you shouldn't be in Alabama today? These are movements that have to happen at an uncomfortable time to make people notice. If it wasn't Colin Kaepernick taking a knee or taking a seat in the number one sport in this country, would anybody be talking about it? Because nobody talks about it when it's a 12-year-old child being killed in Cleveland or a man being killed and strangled in New York for selling loose cigarettes. Nobody has a problem then. Everybody says, well, things happen. He probably deserved it. They'll go into his record. That's the justice for all that he was talking about. It's very easy being a Hispanic man and not having to deal with those type of situations. There's conversations that I'll never have to have with my future children about the uncomfortability. Not sure if that's a word. I'm going to use it anyway. The uncomfortability of being a black man in America. I started thinking about it like this, right? 1964, they passed the Civil Rights Act. The right to vote for black men and women to vote. Think about that. That's 52 years ago. So that means your abuela, your grandma, was born around that time. That means they had dogs sicked on them. They were killed unjustly, men, women, and children, just for being who they were. If you guys ever want to look into the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, it's insane. It'll blow your mind. If you ever want to check out White Like Me, a great documentary by the Bachelor professor Tim Wise, a person I follow on Instagram and on Facebook. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable the things they talk about because it makes you face things that you're okay with brushing under the rug. Right? Like I've had conversations with friends where they say, "Oh, but black people are just, they're angrier," and it's when I've had those conversations, like it makes me see how the most educated people can feed into propaganda. I've been one of those people. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm biased to completely being away from all that and being above it, because I've had my biases. I've had my stereotypical moments when I see the person with face tattoos. I'm like, that he clearly doesn't want a future, not knowing the whole story as to what he got to that situation. And it's whatever. It's a case by case basis. But to generalize in either direction that either cops have a really tough job or that all black people are angry is being completely unfair to the situation, because then you're taking the person out of it. I've always had this slogan, for those of you who know me, I've always had this slogan of a person can be brilliant, people are stupid. Because it's once you start thinking of everybody as the same, then you lose the individuality of that person. If every black person is angry, why do we have great people like LeBron James, who's given over $60 million for kids to go to school and from lower income neighborhoods? Why do we have a Jay-Z who did come from nothing, who did sell drugs, who now is worth, I think at last count, over $500 million? There's no violence. There's just hard drive. When you give hardworking people an opportunity, they can succeed. Yes, some of them will fail, but that's just the person. That's not a people. So you got to stop thinking about them in a generalistic way and taking out the humanity from the situations where you can clearly tell it's wrong. You can equate that now to what's going on in North Dakota with Dabble, the Dakota Access Pipeline, where they're destroying rivers, poisoning rivers of these Native Americans who have a terrible track record in this country, being slaughtered, murdered just for being there. They killed, they fought back, but this was their country first. Immigrants came in and killed them. That's what they were, because Native Americans were the first people here. Everybody else that's come afterwards is an immigrant. Sorry if you feel differently, and that's just an absolute fact. If you came to this country and you weren't born here, you're an immigrant. So sorry, newsflash. So Native Americans were murdered, and now they're trying to fight for the right not to have their water poisoned. And they had private security dogs sicked on men, women, and children. I don't know. I haven't looked into it because it's a very depressing thing. But I don't know if there's been any arrests, but I would hope so. I hope that the mayor of North Dakota, the governor of North Dakota, has been responsible enough to take care of the people, of his citizens that live in that city, his residents. But it's a scary time, man, when you refuse to see another person as a human, when you just start thinking, they deserved it. When you start rationalizing, well, I'm glad it wasn't me, until it directly affects you. Maybe I'm too empathetic to a bunch of these situations. Maybe I think too big above it. Maybe I have too much hope for humanity. I don't really know. I'm not sure where I stand with all that. But the more I learn, the more I want to learn. I'm not a person. I've read books. I'm not a person who learns that way. I'm a person who reads people, who watches videos on both sides. Like sometimes I watch Fox News. I try not to stir into that too much because mainstream media is not really something I believe in, because they have advertising and so on and so forth. But it's a scary time when you could see somebody be murdered unarmed and say, the cops have it tough. Yes, the cops have it tough. There's no doubt about that. But a cop can make a mistake, and that cop should pay for it. Because if anybody else in any other profession makes a mistake, they pay the price. Pay leave or death duty for taking a life just doesn't sit right with me. Now, there's people who can obviously disagree with me. There are people who hear that and they'll say, "Oh, Ben hates the police." And I've lost friends. I've lost friends that think that I feel that way. That think that I hate the police. That once I start speaking out against a certain situation, I'm speaking out in a generalistic terms. I will never speak for an entire group of people. I will never refer to an entire group of people as terrible. That's not something I will do, because each person is his own individual. Each person is sent here to do something, either bad or good. That's just what it's meant to be. That's just the way things are written. That's what I believe. All right. So on a lighter note, man, that was intense. I could talk about that forever. The more you look into that, it's really eye opening, right? Like when you start thinking about how the New Orleanians, let's go with New Orleanians, how they were treated after Hurricane Katrina. They're dying in the Superdome while not really getting any help, while the president of this country, George W. Bush, just flies over, doesn't stop. And then a couple months ago, you see George Bush at the 10-year anniversary taking pictures with a bunch of high school kids. How quickly we forget. Like, why can't we hold that person accountable for not taking care of its own citizens? I'm not saying it would have been done differently if it was all white people. I think, like I've had conversations, I think it's a socioeconomic thing. I think once you see poor people who have no power, the least important person in this country is a poor person, because they're disenfranchised. They don't give to the campaigns. They don't really make a difference. That's how they're viewed. That's how they're talked about. And it's a very sickening thing, because once you tell somebody they're disenfranchised, or once you make them feel not wanted, what do you expect them to do? They're going to rebel. It's almost going to be a pack mentality, and that's for anybody, because I've had conversations with people, blacks, but what about Chicago? Blacks kill blacks. Yes, black people kill black people at a 92% rate, but white people kill black people at 88% rate. Black people and white people let's say they do the same amount of drugs, black people get longer sentences and get arrested at a 4 times higher rate. That's just facts. That's not anything that I'm spewing. That's been recorded, and they just started tracking police shootings. Now, are police justified in a lot of their situations? Absolutely. But when they're not, I'm just saying they should be held accountable. Being black or white, it doesn't matter. When somebody loses their life because a cop felt threatened or felt insulted, and you have to body slam a woman, like you've seen the videos, body slam a woman down to the ground, or yell at a woman, I don't get that type of behavior. Like, I guess because I would not react in that way. I don't understand it. Like, I'm not gonna let somebody use their words and I'm gonna get mad and body slam them. Have I had fights as a kid? Absolutely, but I was a child. Okay, I didn't think rationally. I didn't think of repercussions. But maybe that's the problem, right? If you don't have any repercussions, if there's no price for your actions, what would you get away with? Think about that. Like, if you could do anything you wanted, right? Anything you wanted, what would you do? If you could shoot somebody and say you felt threatened, would you do it and got away with it? There was a couple, I think it was about a year ago now, there was a cop in Oklahoma who raped women. He's in jail now for 137 years. Fantastic. He's a rapist. He's a just disgusting human being. So what he would do is he would attack crackheads, the least drug addicts and things like that, the least important people, and he would rape them and then and have their numbers and then text them and remind them that they're nothing, take their licenses so he could stalk them. That was a police officer. That tells you that some of them might be bad, and that's okay. It's people. Okay, it's just what happens. It's not. There's gonna be bad people in every. I've met bad doctors. I've met terrible nurses. I've met shitty teachers. It's just what happens when you start realizing that we're all the same, but you differentiate us by what you've been told and what you've been taught, and not learn on your own. Right? When you just take the dictations and not see like, oh, this dude is a lot different than this dude. And then you're going to meet some assholes, but an asshole isn't distinctive to race. You're going to meet some asshole white people, asshole Hispanics. And I'm first getting into that real quick. I hate when people say, oh, black, brown, purple, green. Have you ever met a purple person? Have you? Have you ever met a green person? I met a yellow person, but they had lupus. Sorry to say it like that. You know what I mean? Like that's the only time when they're a sick human being. It's black, brown, and it's black, brown, and white, and Asians, whatever. I guess it's a disgusting thing, and there's so many things going on through my head that it's hard to get it all out there in a coherent way. And I hope I'm making sense. I really do. It's just tough, man. Like, I don't understand how you could see somebody get killed and just be like, okay, that's what happens. Or when you can argue to the contrary, to like, oh, why you got to make everything about race? There's always been about race. Black people didn't make the case about race. They were treated as slaves for 400 years. Got the right to vote in 1964. If you really feel to the heart of hearts that everything is equal, would you change places with one black person in this country? Being a white person, being Hispanic, would you change your places? I'm Hispanic. I'm a little bit darker. Even seeing I have dark family members. I have black family members. They get treated a little bit differently. There's racist things. There's stereotypical funny jokes that people throw out to insult them, to degrade them. Are those same things said to white people? Not. Listen, man, I've said many offensive things to my friends. I'm not above the PC shit. Like, I'm not above that. That's not what I'm here for. Like, I've said offensive things to my friends. I've joked. I've probably said some things that I've lost friends for the things I've said, or for the things I haven't said. I speak my mind. That's just what I do. Like, has it gotten me in trouble? Absolutely. In the military, it got me in trouble. I always spoke up in there too. Had some great mentors in the military that really enlightened me about a lot of things, and they made me see things differently because I was sheltered as a child. I went out to clubs in Miami and stuff like that. But I didn't really experience other races besides Hispanic, and some white people sprinkled it in my high schools. So it's a different conversation then. See, this is a great conversation to have with other people, to get their thought process and have the conversation, not have a heated argument, not to start yelling out cuss words and stuff like that. I like to understand the way other people think. It's something I thrive to do. Like I love doing it. Like I love understanding somebody else, as ignorant as sometimes as it may be, as enlightening as sometimes it may be. The conversation is everything to me. Like it's not anything that'll ever become physical. It's not a fight. It's not anything like that. I want to understand why. That's my biggest question. Why do you feel like that? Why do you see these as another person? Why do you see it that way? Why? It's all a conversation. All right, guys. Now finally changing speeds here. So some of you guys might not know I'm a huge Canes fan. So give you a little backstory. I was born in Panama, 1984, and I came to this country in 1989 I'm not exactly sure what month I got here. Gonna be honest, it was a long time ago, 27 years. So I grew up watching the Canes. It's actually how I learned to speak English. So that's my number one team of all time in anything. I'm a Hurricanes football fan till the day I die. Did I ever go to the school? No. Kind of messed up a lot as a kid. In high school, up until high school, I was pretty good. I went to the Army, then went to a private university, got an X-ray degree. So I've been watching the Canes for they play 2 games. They play FAMU, score 70 points. It's just a school getting a paycheck, and their band performs at halftime. And it's been nice, man. Like watching the last game, it's the same team they played last year. Played FAU, won 45-20. This year they won 38-10. It's very different because I haven't seen an aggressive defense, a defense that stands up the way they do in a very long time, and it excites me because I love the defensive side of the ball. Right? It's beautiful to see my team coming back. Their depth is lacking. They'll get better. I see them struggling down the line because they don't have the guys, they don't have the bodies. But to see the defense stand up the way they did against a team who was really game for it. FAU showed up, man. A lot of props to the Owls. FAU showed up, and it was been nice to see them answer the call every time. They had interceptions on a short field. FAU did. Brad Kaya didn't have the best game. He's been struggling. The last 2 has just been hit and miss. I think he's still getting the playbook. So to watch them stand up and to play with a ferocity and to play aggressive and blow up plays, it's been nice to see instead of the read and react I got used to for five years. So to watch them, I'm looking forward to a really good season. I'm projecting maybe 8-4, hopefully 9-3 would be fantastic. October's gonna be tough, man. They got Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina. It's gonna be a tough one, and I think they play another conference opponent. And if they do things right, and Clemson's falling back, but that's not our division. If they do things right, they're gonna end up for the first time in their program history in the ACC championship game. It's gonna be exciting. So these are just a couple of things I wanted to talk about. I went a little deeper on the deeper subject than I wanted to. It's just some random thoughts that are busting through my head. So my next episode will probably be on Wednesday or maybe tomorrow with my good friend Kobe Wallace, Ole Miss Rebel. Gonna talk some college football. What I want to talk to him about, I want to learn about Mississippi. I want to see what that place is about. I've been to Arkansas, and I've been to some. I'm not geographically inclined to know if they're close to each other or their terrain is similar. So I just want to know what they do up there, man. Like I want to. There's a lot of places they call the flyover states. Mississippi's never been like a place for a destination, but I want to know what's around over there. Because a lot of people go to LA, New York, Miami, Orlando for Disney World and stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to talking to him. On Wednesday, I'm going to have my third guest of the podcast. Is going to be one of my closest friends on this planet. He's another podcaster for Benchwarmers Podcast. He hosts that with Christian Duran. Is going to be my friend Danny Granada. He's a recent he just had a baby a couple months ago. Going to talk to him about that. Going to talk some sports. That's kind of his thing. I've known this dude for going on 9 years, and we used to have some heated debates about sports. It's kind of falling off now because I'm not as passionate with the same teams as he was, and we would cuss each other out. So that's definitely going to be an uncensored podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys keep tuning in, man. This is something that I'm still learning. I'm still getting comfortable with. but I look forward to the experiences and you guys growing with me. I really look forward to everything we're going to do and everything we're going to accomplish. I'm really going to make this my passion. I love doing this. It is kind of weird talking all by yourself, but this is just what you got to do when you have a dream. You know, you got to make it uncomfortable to grow from it. So I look forward to reaching out to you guys and you guys reaching out to me, telling me what you think. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.